Why does it always seem like I'm digging here? I don't like digging. I just do a lot of digging here, and it looks like I'm gonna be digging some more. Got a little problem. I got to address. I have my get muddy, nasty, filthy clothes on. Unfortunately, I won't be able to use Bertha here to help me. This will all be hand digging. So I've waited as long as I can on this project because I dread it. I do not like to hand dig at all, like most people. But I've got a water problem at my wellhead. It is leaking. I don't know where, and I got to start digging to see where it's leaking so I can make it stop leaking. So I'll show you what I got set up. So as we walk out to the area, the construction area, you can see it out there. I've got a chair. I've waited till afternoon to start this project just because I did not want to be digging in the sun. Luckily there's a tree right here that has now shaded the area. I have adequate seating for when I get tired of digging. I have two little areas that I can hold my little portable speaker, my phone to play music, and some fruit punch to quench my thirst after I get tired of digging. I have, like I said, I have pretty much the worst set of clothing that I own because it will be very muddy and wet. I am wearing rubber boots to keep my feet dry, and this is what we are going up against. So here's my wellhead, and I have noticed over the last several months that this area stays wet, and lo and behold, it just keeps getting wetter and wetter and wetter. So the leak is getting worse, I'm guessing, or it is just fully saturated the ground such that it's not able to drain any more water. So I don't know which one it is. I'm hoping that it's gotten worse. If you've ever worked on any plumbing project, if you have such a little tiny nothing of a leak, they're really hard to find. So it may have helped me that I waited longer and that the leak has gotten worse, just so they'll make it easier to find. I cannot see where it's coming out anywhere at the top, so it has to be below, so that requires digging. Now I cannot use Bertha for this, unfortunately, as much as I would love to, because there's power run to this well and I don't know where the power runs in, and it's just not safe to use the backhoe with unknown electrical running out here. So that leaves me with only one option, sadly to say, that's manual digging. So like I said, I got my little area here, gloves, shovel, and the lights. So anyway, I will start this project. I'll see how far I can get done before it gets too dark to see, but I am not looking forward to this at all. It's just nasty. So I guess I will start my digging. I'll update you here in several hours when I get more taken away so that I can see what's going on. Well, I haven't been too far along in it. I'm digging and digging, and I've gotten pretty much as far as I can get with just the shovel, and I still have not hit the bottom. What I am guessing here is that it's going to be another, based on the yard hydrant that I replaced. I think it was last year. I know that this thing is probably another foot below grade here, and my shovel whoops, my shovel will only allow me to go about this deep unless I start digging all this out. So if I dig out, say here, then it'll allow me to get in the hole with it, which I'm going to have to do now that I know that it's it's a plumbing problem that's so low, uh, below grade. I was hoping that it was going to be just, let's see, wait a minute, right there, somewhere right around there. I was hoping that just the years of cutting grass had weakened this line. People bumping it with lawnmowers and such, that it had just gotten a small little fracture in this little line, and that I would only have to dig maybe a foot or so and then cut and replace wherever that leak was. But I'm not seeing the leak, so I said I wasn't going to use Bertha, but I think I lied. And because of Bertha, this is what I now have. I have room to get in there and see what is happening. I suspect that the leak is going to be at the junction wherever this ends and connects to whatever it goes. I'm sure there's a 90-degree down there, and that is what is leaking. I'm not sure of that. That's just my guess. But now I can crawl in here and go back to digging. Well, here we are so far, and it's getting worse. Not the water leak, just the situation. So I left my shovel down there. That's as far down as I've gotten. I'm about 3 feet below grade in total. That shovel, I'm guessing, is about 5 foot tall. So if you look here, that's how deep I am. There's the top of the shovel. So I had this landing here I made with Bertha so I could get down there. Oh, there goes my shovel. So I could get down in there and shovel deeper, and that's as far deep as I am getting, but I still haven't reached the bottom. And the problem is, you see this is where the water comes out from the well. You would think it would follow its path as it's lined up here with the pump, but unfortunately what it's doing is going straight down, and then once it gets way down here, it's actually starting to go this direction. So instead of being right where I dug my footing and everything to get in there, I'm going to have to trench out even more because it's going this direction. Why it's going that way, I have no idea. It doesn't make any sense, but that's where we're at. Well, it's getting a little bit too dark now for me to see in my hole where I'm at, but I guess if anybody's watching this that knows what I'm doing, then you've probably been laughing, because that black thing coming out the top is for power. So I'm sitting there saying I don't see any power when I'm following the power line, which I thought was pretty funny. But once I got down, I'd say closer to 3.5 feet or so, I finally found the actual water line. The water line is black, just like this power line. So at least that was a big weight off my shoulders, because now I don't have to be so scared about where's the power, because I found the power. Anyway, I'll spin it around. I hope it's not too dark to see where I gotten so far. Well, it's pretty dark. The light's on, and it'll probably just look like a big void, and that's all it really is. I had to come with a backhoe over here and dig out, because while I was following the power line down thinking it was the water line is actually over here, nestled up against the corner there, and it's got a pretty good leak. So I will have to continue this if it will focus. I guess it's too dark, but I'll have to continue this tomorrow.
Well, you see me smiling, so you can guess what I did, and that is finish this plumbing project that I got into. I did not do a lot of in the mud, on my hands and knees, crawling through slurry of mud type of how-to, because this is a little bit more involved than I think most of you would probably want to tackle, unless you've done several plumbing projects. And I even ran into a very weak point myself, and I'll talk about that a little later. But I'll show you the hole now that I've got it somewhat kind of covered back up, and I'll explain what all I got done. So here it is. I just kind of loosely covered it back up. I've done this kind of in stages. I did not want to overly stress the joint that I repaired. So what I did was I just kind of loosely shoveled by hand some dirt on top of the repair site. And then I kind of let that settle. And then I added a little more and let it settle, and so forth, so on. And then yesterday I came in here and kind of just loosely filled it in. I'm not going to, drive over it and pack it down. I'm going to let it rain on it and let it settle. You can see that it's just very loosely piled in there. I just used the bucket on the front of Bertha to push the dirt in increments into the hole, and I still have this big giant bit. So this will settle, and then I'll actually kind of pack it down a little bit after God has packed it down for me with rain and settling and such. But and I also got to fix this top of this well head here that I got off cut kilter here when I hit it several times on accident. But it's an easy fix. It'll take me a couple minutes. So I learned a lot in doing this project, just like I do with every project that I do. The biggest thing that I learned is I'm an idiot. It's so funny. I had no idea that line coming off the top was electrical, and I'm so scared I'm going to hit electrical that I'm just taking way longer than I should have, because I was so afraid I was going to hit the electrical when the electrical stared me in the face. But I already knew I was an idiot. I just guess I needed some clarification. But yeah, if you think about it, it makes total sense. You would not have your water coming out the top of your well and then going underground, especially in this climate where I live. The winters are just brutal, and it would freeze. You'd have to have it just constantly running at a pretty high rate to keep it from freezing out here. So anyway, that's the power. So once I finally figured out that was not the water, I found the water, and the water was it was a little bit more than 3.5 foot. I'll say 4 foot. And then I had to manually dig out below that so that I could actually see the pipe and see if it's leaking. So I did that. I used a thing called a PVC compression coupling is what I used on the repair itself, and I'm going to try to put a picture of it here in case you have no idea what I'm talking about. So I had gotten it down, I had dug down, I'd gotten it where I could see it was a leak. It was a pinhole leak, but under that kind of pressure, it's like a syringe spraying. So it actually was putting out, I calculated it based on my pump that I have to pump the water out of the hole with. It was about 9 gallons a day, which doesn't sound like a lot, but over a course of time, that can add up pretty quickly. So what I did was, after I got to where I could see it, I saw exactly where the leak was. I went and bought that compression coupling, and then I had it's that hard, what they call poly tubing pipe. It's god awful. That stuff is so hard to work with. It's hard to make any connections with. It doesn't flex. It doesn't. It's thin walled. It's a little fragile. It's just, there's really nothing I can say good about that stuff. I've never ran into it until I came here, and so it's a learning experience for me as well. I had to work with it when I did the pump, the frost-free hydrant in the shop, and I learned right then and there I hate that stuff, and then to have to work on it again was just so hard to deal with. So I'd gotten it to where I was going to disconnect it from the well itself. There's a metal flange that it connects to on the actual well housing, and I could not get the thing off for the life of me. And so I hit a weak point, and I was like, hey, I've already done all the hard work. I've excavated it. You can access it cleanly other than the mud, but you can get to it and make the repair without a lot of issue if you know what you're doing. And I just could not figure out for the life of me how to get it detached. So I actually sat and called pretty much every local plumbing person I could find in this area, and that was I probably called at least 12 different plumbers, and I just kept getting, either they were not willing to work on it because it is attached to the well, even though it was not a well problem. I kept trying to tell them this is not a well problem, it's the main line coming from the well. They still don't want to mess with it because it's well. And really what that boils down to is the other half of the people that I actually talked to, they won't work with this poly pipe because it sucks. It's awful. It's hard to deal with, and which is real unfortunate, because I was willing to pay someone just to come out and do the actual repair on this, which would have probably cost me, I think it was like going to be somewhere around $100 for them just to drive here. And it took me approximately, I'm going to say an hour by the time I finally figured out how to do it and make the repair and such. So that would have probably been another $100. And so it would have been a minimum of $200, and I'm probably guessing more like, $250 to $300 for someone to come out here and spend. It took me an hour. It'd probably take them 30 minutes. But I couldn't get anybody even to come out here because well and poly pipe. So I was actually literally stuck with no option but to just man up and do it myself, which I should have done to begin with. But like I said, I had a weak moment like everybody else. So what it ended up being was I ended up going to 2 different plumbing supply houses just to talk to people. Generally, if you go to a plumbing supply place and you do actually know a little about plumbing enough that they don't feel like they're wasting their time with you, they'll talk to you. So that's what I did. I went there, explained what I had, told them, carried a piece of the poly pipe that I had extra from when I fixed the hydrant, showed them what I was planning on doing. I had the repair coupling, talked to them about there was something that one of them mentioned. It's called a Ford pack, but you can't use it on this stuff. And again, it's really difficult to work with. So what I did was I ended up leaving after talking to the second plumbing supply place. What I have is exactly what I needed. The PVC compression coupling, which I had already known because I had researched that, is made for burial. You actually cannot expose it to UV light or it will degrade. So it's a perfect application for this. You can't use Ford packs because of the poly tubing. It's not a standard thickness and diameter, so you can't. It doesn't easily cross over to anything but PVC. So and there are Ford packs. If you don't know what a Ford pack is, don't worry, because I just learned about it during this process. So but you won't find them. They no one carries Ford packs for plastic PVC anymore, because it's just not used now that PEX is in the world, and there's so much better things to use other than this garbage poly pipe. No one uses it. It's outdated junk. So anyway, long story short, basically I learned you have to cut it off. So you gotta get a razor blade, and you gotta be crazy easy with it, because you don't want to, of course, mess up the flange that it's connected to. So you have to cut the poly off of the barb that it is attached to at the well, and then at that point you can make your fittings. But I did go to Harbor Freight and I did buy me a heat gun, and that made a world of difference. I mean, without the heat gun I could not have done this, because you still have to be able to put a barb into the pipe to strengthen it. They're called inserts. So what I did was, I'll just basically tell you what I did, and then I'll if you don't understand it, then just don't do the project. But I took one of the plastic made for poly pipe couplings, cut it in half. I used the ratcheting cutter, went right through it. Gave me 2 pieces, heated it with a heat gun, hammered it in on both sides. That made it super rigid, and then I used the repair coupling to crank down on those ends that I reinforced, and it's been leak free. So everything's done. I'm going to try to fill it back in after it has rained a little bit, but this project's pretty much done. As far as the dirt work with Bertha, that only takes just a few minutes. But anyway, that's why I didn't do any more of the videos in the process, because I just thought this is just probably way too much for anybody that's wanting to look at a video on how to, when I don't really know what I'm doing as well. So I'm like the worst instructor for that in this scenario, and I had to learn on my own. If you do run into this problem, which I hope you never do, finding a plumber to fix it, good luck with that, because it's just pathetic that they don't want to deal with it, because it's shoddy materials and it's really difficult, which is exactly why you would pay a professional to do it in the first place, right? Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you got something out of it, and we'll see you on the next adventure.